UFC 291 is stacked with amazing fights, and you can make a lot of money from this card. I'm going to be betting quite a bit on this card, and this is going to be your complete betting guide for UFC 291 with timestamps, by the way. We're going to talk about confident picks. We're going to talk about underdog opportunities. We're going to talk about fights that you should avoid. We're going to talk my lock of the week, and then the official bets that I will be placing this week. We're going to get into all of that in just a second, and timestamps are there if you would like to use them. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I'm your guy with too many YouTube channels. And welcome back to, like I said, your complete betting guide for UFC 291. Guys, like I said, timestamps are there if you'd like to use them. Let's start off the video with the confident picks. Guys, the first confident pick I have for you is CJ Vergara. He's taking on Vinicius Salvador, and Vinicius Salvador is not a bad fighter at all. I was just so impressed from what I've seen in CJ Vergara in his last fight. Now, guys, coming into the UFC, I understand CJ Vergara he's had a very, very spotty record coming off the Contender Series, right? He's coming to the UFC, he's won some, he's lost some. Granted, those are two pretty good opponents. I mean, like, it's not like the best guys that you want to lose to, but still, CJ Vergara, in his last fight, displayed one of the most, like, incredible hearts you will see in UFC. I am all over this guy in his last fight. I think he's improved, and I think he can bring the fight kind of wherever he wants. I feel like no matter what, I'm not overly convinced Vinicius Salvador is like a hype train to be really behind right now. And I feel like CJ Vergara will be a nice step ahead of him the entire time. And I was just so thrilled to see him in his last fight. He had moments where he was down. He had moments where he was fighting very well. I love the heart and skill displayed by CJ Vergara, and I'm going to be behind him in a lot of fights when he's taking guys that are on the same level around of Vinicius Salvador. I believe CJ Vergara will do very well in the flyweight division. I think he's going to get a win here, and I think he's going to move up, and he's going to move decently far in the division. I cannot wait to see this guy fight top contenders because I'm right behind him right now. I like CJ Vergara to win this fight. Give me him. Guys, the next confident pick I have for you is Kevin Holland. He's taking on Michael Chiesa. Now, there's a little bit of a problem with this one because there is absolutely a world where Michael Chiesa can just hug Kevin Holland and hold him like in either guard or half guard for the entire time, but I don't think that's going to happen. It has been a very long time since we've seen Michael Chiesa. It's been 1 year and 7 months, and he's coming off of two really, really rough losses. Like, he hasn't looked like himself. Michael Chiesa is a very one-dimensional fighter. He kills himself to make weight, which he hasn't done in a long time. They're fighting at Salt Lake City, so who knows how his preparation has been, and Michael Chiesa is getting up there in age. He's 35 years old now, and he has the job at the desk, and that's something that's really, really putting me back on Michael Chiesa. I hope Michael Chiesa wins. He's one of my favorite fighters ever, but he's kind of setting up his life once he's done fighting, and he might be more invested in that than he is in actually fighting right now because he hasn't fought. He hasn't fought, and we've always seen him doing his commentating role, which he's amazing at. I'm happy for him, but I don't think he's nearly as hungry as a guy like Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland, a guy in his prime who's moved down to welterweight and found incredible success at welterweight. He has crazy power. He will have a huge reach advantage, and I think Kevin Holland is going to finish Michael Chiesa in this fight. I'm definitely betting on this fight. Guys, the last confident pick I have for you is Stephen Thompson. He's taking on Michel Pereira. Now, the only red flag here, and I'm so reluctant to pick a guy that's 40, guys. I really, really am. But Stephen Thompson looked like in his last fight against Kevin Holland, he looked like he was in his prime in that fight. He looked fantastic. It was a striking match, and he displayed the Stephen Thompson of old. So Stephen Thompson hasn't lost a step. Here's why I'm confident that he will win this fight. Michel Pereira has looked good. He's looked very good as of recent. Here's the thing. They're fighting at Salt Lake City, okay? Elevation is a huge problem. Fighters have gassed out. Did you remember the last fight card that we watched at Salt Lake City? Every single fighter gassed out. Now, what's Michel Pereira known for? Gassing out. I believe that Michel Pereira will come in and he might he's been a little bit more tame as of recent in the crazy stuff that he does, but at the end of the day, he still does them and he's still very powerful. He's still explosive. He's still expending a lot of energy. He's going to do that, and as I cannot trust him to last 3 rounds with a guy like Wonderboy Thompson, who we've seen over the years have incredible cardio. I think Stephen Wonderboy Thompson is going to piece him up. I think he's a better striker in general, and I think Michel Pereira is going to completely gas out in this fight. That's why I'm picking Stephen Thompson to win this fight, although he is 40 years old. All right, guys, let's talk about some underdog opportunities. Now, I do want to say before we get into the underdog opportunities, these are not picks, okay? It's just these picks are underdog, like I said. Opportunities. If you were looking to bet on an underdog, if you were looking for amazing value on a bet, it does not necessarily mean that I'm going to pick these fighters to win. I'm just saying that if you want an underdog, it's not a crazy idea to bet on them. These underdogs have a very real possibility of hitting. So, with that being said, let's get started with Priscilla Cachoeira. First of all, of course, the WMMA flyweight division, anything can happen. At the time of recording this video, she is a plus 360 underdog. That is absolutely crazy for Miranda Maverick, by the way, who fought 1 month ago, got pieced up in that fight. She's returning way too soon. She's fighting at Salt Lake City, so who knows how her training camp went. The only thing is, Miranda Maverick does train. This is something to note. Miranda Maverick does train at Salt Lake City, Utah, okay? She doesn't train at Salt Lake City, but she does train in elevation, I believe, higher than Salt Lake City, which is absolutely insane. But still, I do not like Miranda Maverick coming in after 1 month ago having that horrible, horrible performance. And Miranda Maverick's whole game is if she can't get the takedown, she's done. That's her whole game. And we've seen it lose now. We've seen it not work out for her. And Priscilla Cachoeira coming off of 2 nice wins. Although, if you don't, it's tough because she's 34 years old now. And the 2 wins that she did display here, she looked okay, but they weren't against the greatest of opponents. I could very well see a world where Cachoeira walks forward, defensive takedowns, and pieces up Maverick, okay? I still believe Miranda Maverick will win this fight, but if you want to bet an underdog, Cachoeira is not a bad idea. The other underdog opportunity I have for you guys this week is Justin Gaethje. Now, Justin Gaethje at the time of recording this video is a plus 220 underdog. I think that is crazy. It is a lot more than what it opened up as. Justin Gaethje was floating around the 200, 210, even going down to 190. So Justin Gaethje is becoming more of an underdog as of late. But I talked about this in a full card breakdown video, guys. Justin Gaethje, with the fight and how it is set up right now, Justin Gaethje, he has all of the stars aligned for him to win this fight. Dustin Poirier is the same guy that they fought so long ago, and that fight was chaotic. That fight was a war. They were back and forth the entire time. Dustin Poirier is the same guy. Justin Gaethje is an entirely different person, one that's evolved, one that has timing, one that fights with technique now. Justin Gaethje also trains above Salt Lake City, so that's another thing to take into consideration. Dustin Poirier came out here, a couple weeks ago? That is not nearly enough to get adjusted to the climate up there. Like I said, all of the stars are aligning for Justin Gaethje to win this fight. They are completely different fighters. They've had kind of the same career path, and it's very evident that Justin Gaethje is more evolved. Lastly, the thing that I want to note is Dustin Poirier now has all of that Conor McGregor money, and he's been very vocal about it, where he's comfortable with his life right now. He doesn't have to fight. He has a family. He has all the money. He has a hot sauce business. He is clearly not as hungry, especially after that loss with Charles Oliveira. Justin Gaethje still isn't rich. Justin Gaethje still wants to have those main event wins. He wants to get the BMF. He's very vocal about having one more title run. Everything that I'm talking about right now revolves around Justin Gaethje getting the win here. I wholeheartedly believe that he's going to win this fight. Although, with a guy like Dustin Poirier, anything can happen. But I think that Justin Gaethje has all of the chance in the world to win this fight. And I actually did end up betting on him in this fight. Although, it's not the safest bet, but the value is right there. I'm fairly confident that Justin Gaethje is going to win. All right, guys, let's talk about fights to avoid. Fights that I think you are crazy if you bet on this weekend. And actually, to be honest with you, the whole card's kind of crazy if you bet on it. Although there's a lot of good fights that you could bet on. The problem is that they're fighting at elevation. Anyways, the first fight that I do want to talk about is Jake Matthews versus Darius Flowers. Typically, before Jake Matthews' last performance, I would say, you know what, Jake Matthews probably a safe bet here. However, Jake Matthews just had, in his last fight against Matthew Semelsberger, one of the most pitiful, horrible performances that you will ever see in the UFC. He did not look good in that fight. He did not look like himself. I don't know if he had an off night or what's going on, but after that performance from Jake Matthews, I have lost all faith in him until he proves otherwise. He's taken on a brand new guy in Darius Flowers. Now, Darius Flowers came over from the LFA. I've been watching him in the LFA. Darius Flowers is one of those fighters who he clearly doesn't have the technique that Jake Matthews has, but he has the power. When a guy like Darius Flowers comes in with the power that he carries, and it's not like he comes in here and slugs, okay? He has decent technique with a very underrated ground game. Anything can happen with this guy's power. That's why, and with Darius Flowers coming into the UFC wanting to prove something and having the power that he does, fighting a guy like Jake Matthews, who just had one of the worst performances of all time, but Jake Matthews is the better fighter in my opinion. I think that you should stay away from this fight completely because this one's very difficult to predict. The next fight that I think you should be avoiding is Roman Kopylov versus Claudio Ribeiro. Now, there is a clear strength in the striking department. Roman Kopylov, if this fight stays standing, Roman is going to piece him up. He is a fantastic kickboxer, okay? He's great at what he does, and he is a decently sized favorite right now. Claudio Ribeiro, while he is primarily a striker, he has shown wrestling in a couple of his last performances, and he's a big, strong guy, okay? With a guy his strength and his size, I don't care how your technique is, you could get a guy like Roman Kopylov down. The whole problem is Claudio Ribeiro going to come in with a wrestling game plan, or is he going to try and knock him out? Because we are unsure about that, and this whole fight depends on that path, right? If Ribeiro comes in here, tries to get Kopylov down, because Kopylov has a problem. He has and I don't want to say zero ground game, but it is a clear hole in his game. This dude is a striker. If it's on the feet, Kopylov's going to kill him. If Ribeiro starts wrestling, Kopylov's going to get murdered. So that's why I'm staying completely away from this fight. It's really tough to predict about what's going to happen in this fight. Now, guys, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this fight because this one is obvious. I don't even have to mention it. Is Derek Lewis versus Marcos Rogério de Lima. Any fight that Derek Lewis is in, you shouldn't bet on because, of course, Derek Lewis's entire career is that knockout king. He could be losing and losing and losing, and even if it's 1 second left in the fight, he can land a KO blow. Like, it's self-explanatory. If you've ever watched Derek Lewis fight, you would know, stay away from the betting. You are crazy if you bet against him. Another fight that I think you guys should stay clear from is Trevin Giles versus Gabriel Bonfim. Now, I almost put this in the Underdog Opportunities one, but this fight is, it's a 50-50 fight, man. Both guys, like, I know everybody's all over Gabriel Bonfim right now, and he's looked good. He's 14-0. He's been steamrolling his opponent so far. Trevin Giles, we have seen finished, okay? But Trevin Giles, I believe, is also an amazing, amazing prospect coming into his prime, and with, I mean, he had a split decision win, but he still looked really, really good in his last fight. He's coming off of 2 great wins, and Trevin Giles is a fantastic boxer. He can take the fight anywhere. He's fighting a guy in Gabriel Bonfim who has not faced the level of competition that of a guy like Trevin Giles. I think that everybody's completely overlooking Trevin Giles. Trevin Giles is a fantastic fighter. And we also have to question Bonfim's gas tank at Salt Lake City. That's another thing, guys, we need to take into consideration. The elevation. That is going to matter. That's going to be a big deal. That question is there for Bonfim because he is a finisher. Trevin Giles is proven. That guy is an animal in the cage, and I think everybody is completely overlooking for him. I think both fighters will take their career to an amazing, amazing level no matter what happens here. I think these guys are going to break into the rankings. I am very confident that these guys will both be something special one day, and the way that I can't pick them. I can't pick against either one in this matchup. They are both such great fighters. I think you are, out of all the fights that we talk about today, I think you are the most crazy if you bet on either of these guys. Now, guys, I have one more fight that you should avoid today, and that is Jan Blachowicz versus Alex Pereira. I think this is about as 50-50 as a fight you could get. There are way too many questions, okay? I'll run through them. I made a whole breakdown video about this fight and in a full card video. Like I said, there's so many questions. First of all, 40 years old Jan Blachowicz. How's he going to look at elevation? He's slowed down in his last few fights. Alex Pereira, moving into a new division. I know he's fought there in kickboxing, but still, we don't know how he's going to be at 205 in MMA. Alex Pereira was just knocked out 2 months ago. Was that because of the weight cut? Is he coming back too early? How is he going to have a ground game with a guy like Jan Blachowicz, who beat Israel Adesanya by taking him down? Like I said, too many questions, and I can go on, and I go on and on about it in another video. If you want to hear me talk about it for 5 minutes, you can go click on that video. But this, like, even when let's say this fight's standing, okay? Jan Blachowicz is great at checking leg kicks. Alex Pereira is great at throwing leg kicks. I don't know who's going to win this fight. Jan Blachowicz has that Polish power. Alex Pereira just knocked out. Is his chin going to be okay? How much weight's he cutting? We still know he's cutting a lot of weight. This could be too early for him. Here's another thing. Glover Teixeira, one of the greatest light heavyweights of all time, is now retired and putting his full effort into coaching Alex Pereira. Is he going to shock everybody with a ground game that we don't know about? Because Glover is the guy you want to learn from on the ground. Like I said, guys, way too many questions. I cannot pick a winner in this fight. If any fight on this card, this is about as 50-50 as you could get. You are nuts if you are putting your money on this. It's like going to the casino and going, hey, put my money on red. That is what you're doing if you're betting on Jan Blachowicz versus Alex Pereira. And even the odds reflect that. Let me see what they are right now. Okay, they were even, but it's still pretty even, to be honest with you. It's a minus 183 pick'em. Like, even the odds reflect that. Way too many questions. Alex Pereira is inexperienced in MMA still. Jan Blachowicz, very experienced. I can go on and on about it, guys. The point is, way too many questions. Stay away from this fight. Now, guys, let's talk lock of the week. The lock of the week this time is going to be Bobby Green for UFC 291. I don't know. I've seen some people pick Tony Ferguson here. I've seen some people pick Tony Ferguson because Bobby Green is nothing special, okay? But Tony Ferguson, since that fight with Justin Gaethje, has been a shell of his former self. I was watching a video from Lucas Tracy, and he said that he's like Mr. Krabs out of the shell in that one SpongeBob episode. It's true. It is so true. Ever since that Justin Gaethje loss, it has been complete downhill. Now, if you're looking at his past opponents, like you want to talk about Justin Gaethje, Charles Oliveira, and Beneil Dariush, yes, those guys went on to do bigger and better things after Tony Ferguson. So you could chalk those losses up to, you know what, maybe he's just fighting the best of the best, right? But then he had the Michael Chandler. While he did have his moments, Michael Chandler ended up finishing him. And then this is what really sealed the deal for me. Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz is one of the most overrated, washed fighters you will ever see in the UFC. He's gone, and he's going to even lose to Jake Paul. Okay? He's going over the boxing. He's going to get cleaned up. Nate Diaz is also a shell of his former self. Tony Ferguson looked old. He looked slow. He looked like a shell of his former self. He is not the same guy since that fight with Justin Gaethje. And Bobby Green, while he is coming off of, I guess you could say a win, but before that, I understand he had 2 losses. I believe Drew Dober is much better than people give him credit for, and he also lost to Islam Makhachev. That is nothing to hang your head over. Bobby Green still has it. Bobby Green is still quick, and he is going to box Tony Ferguson's head off in this fight. I haven't been this confident in a fight in a very, very long time. Tony Ferguson should be retired at this point. Bobby Green is going to hopefully retire Tony Ferguson in this fight. He is my lock of the week, 110% this time. All right, guys, let's talk about the official bets that I will be placing. Now, I'm going to do something fun this week, first of all. I'm going to do something really fun this week, okay? I am going to, because of the elevation, I understand this is a really long shot, okay? This is a really long shot. I'm going to put $5 down on every single fight to go over 1.5 rounds, and I'm going to see how that goes. Just because they're funding at elevation, everybody's going to gas out. You know what? Maybe, just maybe, every fight will end up going the distance. So I'm going to do a little bit of a fun bet that round. But fights that I will definitely be betting, guys, if you follow the channel at all, you know I'm a big fan of over 1.5 rounds. I'm going to definitely be doing Miranda Maverick, okay? Definitely. I'm going to also be doing CJ Vergara. I'm going to avoid this fight. I'm going to do Roman Kopylov and Claudio Ribeiro. This one, I am like, Derek Lewis, I could see a very slow-paced fight, but I'm still going to probably avoid it. Trevin Giles, Gabriel Bonfima, I'm going to absolutely be doing. Same with Stephen Thompson, Michelle Pereira. Not Kevin Holland, not Bobby Green, not Pereira, and Dustin Poirier versus Justin Gaethje. I'm actually confident that it might go a few rounds, so I might do, you know what, I'm going to stick it with 1.5 most likely. But anyways, other fights that I will be betting on, and I'm going to probably parlay these together too at some point, okay? So let's take a look at, like, obviously I'm going to throw Bobby Green in there. Obviously I'm going to throw Bobby Green, right? Who else do I like? I really like Kevin Holland, and I really like Stephen Thompson. I believe these 3 together with 357, I like that a lot, man. I like that a lot. So if we put $10, $35, I really, really like those odds, and probably pair it up with the Priscilla Cachoeira to go over 1.5 rounds. Not bad at all. What if we were to parlay like a couple other fights, like a couple other random fights? Bobby Green, I'm going to put, I typically don't like rely on one fighter, but I'm just so confident in this fight, man. I am so confident. So, like, let's do just Bobby Green, and let's do, like, Kevin Holland, okay? How's that? 214. That is still very, very good. Like, there's a lot of really good odds this week. The problem is that this is elevation, and elevation can screw things up. So, another thing that I do want to do is I'm going to get bit in the butt for this, okay? Because I never bet on WMMA. Miranda Maverick, Justin Gaethje, Team Elevation, okay? They've been training for this. They're ready for this. Perhaps that's a safe bet. I'm going to be placing this at 282. I don't mind that at all. Maybe the odds will fluctuate a little bit. But anyways, other fighters, like, let's say, like, fighters that I do like to win. What if we were to put, like, Matthew Semmelsberger, CJ Vergara, not Roman Kopylov, absolutely not. And, yeah, you know what? Let's do Kevin Holland with that. 386, or if you want to add Bobby Green to that, 298. That's not bad. It's not bad. There's a lot of good odds this weekend. So I'm going to be separately betting on Justin Gaethje, 100%. I'm going to be separately betting on Bobby Green, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. I am going to be betting on CJ Vergara. And other than that, I'm going to do a lot of 1.5 bets. And I'm going to parlay all of them because that's going to be really fun. And if it happens, guys. There's a lot of good opportunities here. However, the elevation might really, really hurt people. If this wasn't at elevation, guys, I'd be feeling so good about so many fights here. And I think you'd be able to cash out, man. But the elevation might screw things up. I don't know. We'll see what happens, guys. Let me know what you thought about my bets down below, and thank you so much for watching this video. But I'd love to hear from you down below if there's any fights that I didn't talk about that you're confident in, or if you disagree with me on something, please let me know in the comments. I would love to read and talk about them there. Thank you so much for watching, everybody on the screen right now. If you'd like to continue watching the Clenbat channel, there'll be 2 videos on screen for you to check out. I think they're pretty great videos, so either I'll see you there or in the next video, guys. Take care.